into a business.
Talent is preeminent.
Get first-hand success stories from seasoned entrepreneurs only on Build Your Own Business.
This is Build Your Own Business. Powered
by Oze. Make money with Oze.
This is Build Your Own Business, brought to you by Oze. I am Wale Famirewa, your host, and welcome to the program as we unpack the interesting stories of accomplished entrepreneurs here in Nigeria, and as they share their thoughts and advice, hopefully they can provide some valuable tips for you to use as you build your own business. Today, we are focusing on renewable energy. It's a very interesting space, a lot to unpack over there. So before we get into it though, here's a brief bio of our guest.
Suleiman Yusuf is a degree holder in economics from Bayero University, Kano, the founder of Blue Camel Energy. He is the managing director and CEO of the company with over 12 years experience in renewable energy and power backup systems, over 7 years in intelligence gathering and investigation, technical training, research and planning. He's a firm believer in customer satisfaction, sustainable and clean energy. He has been responsible for the successes of the company over the years of existence, and through his leadership, he has been recognized with both local and international awards. He is committed in breaking frontiers in developing products and tailor-made energy solutions for the Nigerian market for increased access to reliable, sustainable, cost-effective and environmentally friendly clean energy sources. Resolute to the company's vision and overall objective, Suleiman Yusuf conceived an idea born out of the need to educate, to empower and impact. He has established and operationalized a state-of-the-art solar assembly plant and renewable energy. Also a training academy located in Kaduna State with the aim of increasing Nigeria's participation in the renewable energy value chain through increased local participation of skilled technical personnel at different levels of the renewable energy value chain. This initiative will increase job creation and ignite economic activities. Ladies and gentlemen, we present Suleiman Yusuf.
Okay, welcome back. So let's get started with our conversation with Suleiman Yusuf. And thank you so much for joining us today, Suleiman. Obviously, there's been a huge buzz globally around renewable energy or energy in general. And you have been invested in this space for well over a decade. Let's start by getting your assessment of that space in Nigeria right now. And for those who are potentially looking to venture into the space, what can you tell us?
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. In a country like Nigeria, where our population increase is still highly uncontrolled, with over 200 million Nigerians and about 80 million Nigerians are still not connected to electricity or do not have any access to electricity. I think the opportunities there are very clear and huge. But besides that also, our energy generation assets, distribution assets, as well as transmission assets haven't seen much improvement over the years, but our population is not waiting. That is to say that our energy generation and population gap is not, there's a gap, there's a continuous increase in gap between energy supply and demand. So that also, makes it very clear that there are huge potentials in the industry. But beyond that also, you can see, especially in the past couple of weeks, that even access to gas, to diesel, which, we use probably to, I think the last figures I have shows that over 30,000 megawatts of electricity is generated by diesel-powered generators every day. And now that the price of diesel is going haywire, of course, these are all indications that there is a huge opportunity around that source of energy that replenishes itself every day. So, from the onset, we, at about 14 years ago when we started this business, there was this issue around globalization, around the green, the need to go green, around, environmental environmental pollutions and, all that stuff around carbon, excessive generation of carbon and the damage it's not doing to the environment. So that also, was a clear indication that, this is an industry that is going to stay and it's just about to open up, But
right.
beyond, yeah.
Okay, but if I can jump in and just get your thoughts on the typical pitfalls. So you've clearly laid out the opportunity for us, but as it is with most businesses, it's not always as simple as it sounds. So I imagine many people have walked the path that you are walking. So in your view, what would be the typical pitfalls that you can point to that investors who are looking to go your way need to pay attention to?
Well, certainly as an entrepreneur and as an investor, the first thing you need to know in any business you're going into, and the first things you need to look out for are those pitfalls and those challenges that you are likely to come across. In fact, it's better you anticipate these challenges and prepare your mind for them and solve the equation even before you get there. So we knew it wasn't going to be easy, and particularly in the Nigerian scenario, part of the key challenges we faced was the fact that the industry was being run by people who had no idea, who didn't have the knowledge of the products, both in terms of identifying, the quality of the products, doing your system sizing, and all that stuff. So it led to a huge failure in the industry, and that failure, discouraged a lot of people who were supposed to be investing, who were supposed to be, patronizing, the product and the technology. So at the time we came on board, we had a whole cleanup to do. And this failure rate that I was talking about is not just from, from the low quality products that were allowed to come into the country, because our standard organization was not functional when it comes to renewable energy. And that's probably because we didn't have a desk with people who are enlightened and who understands the technology. But that's all right. The other area that, really messed up the industry is the fact that government decided to play a key role in the deployment of renewable energy solutions. So government became an investor who was giving out a contract. In fact, the biggest investor in the sector. They're giving out contracts in hundreds of millions and in billions. And these contracts were, highly political, not particularly, technology-based background companies. So the pre-qualification process itself did not have matters. So the contracts eventually found themselves in the hands of wrong people who didn't have the knowledge of the deployment. And what happened 6 months, 1 year afterwards, there was massive failure. And this failure cuts across every community in Nigeria because the government projects were targeted at, communities and, state governments, all the states, So it simply meant that all people see every day to their face is solar solution that is not working. So why should we ask them to invest money in a technology that is not working? So we had to start, cleaning up the industry, and we had to start doing so many demos. At that time, we even had customers that we deployed for them and give them time to enjoy the solution before they pay, because nobody was willing to put down his money in buying a technology that they were scared of.
All right, I'm sure it's been quite an interesting journey for you. But over those many years, what would you say, in a few words, has been the biggest lesson for you as an investor in this sector?
Well, the biggest lesson that I have learned as an investor is to know and to understand clearly that if you want to build a business, you must not depend on government's patronage. If you depend on government's patronage, number one, every 4 years, you probably have to make new friends in government. And number two, you can actually be sent bankrupt because sometimes, you're giving contracts looking good, you spend everything you have. Sometimes you borrow money to execute and then payment becomes a problem. The government in Nigeria don't respect contracts and agreements. So, even though at the time where we had the advantage, we're lucky to, have a couple of projects that we that served as our springboard. But we didn't just get carried away. We knew that we needed to build a business that is private sector driven and private sector, client. So, that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, not to, run or depend on the patronage of government.
Interesting point. And very quickly, before we head into the break, can you discuss your expectation of the evolution of solar energy as an energy source in this country? And what, if we can look into the next 5 years in terms of its cost and availability, what do you see?
Well, I see in the Nigerian case, I always say Nigerian case because our own case here always seems to be different from what is happening in other parts of the globe. Key things, number one, the technology is getting more efficient. The technology itself is just about 20 years old in Nigeria. We got on board about 14 years ago. And between that 14 years when we started practicing, when we started, deployment of solar, in Nigeria, and now there's been so many changes, perhaps on a routine basis on technology, from the charge controllers to the inverter systems. Now we have hybrid inverters, even to the solar PV technology, we have more efficient solar PV. So, there is efficiency, and that efficiency is also leading to a decrease in price, globally. But unfortunately, the decrease in price globally is not translating to a decrease in price in Nigeria for obvious reasons. And this is not far away from our, foreign exchange, calamity and the difficulty in accessing, Forex, for example. We also have this situation in Nigeria where, unlike other countries that are mindful of supporting the industry, understanding how important it is for, renewable energy to be given a central role in power generation. Our own case here, we don't enjoy any kind of subsidy or any kind of support from the government. We still pay taxes on solar PVs. We still pay huge, import duties, and we still have difficulty in accessing foreign exchange from CBN for our importations. So all these factors put together is not helping, the industry to grow. But I tell you, if you have the numbers today and the figures of how much installation is going on, how many megawatts of solar panels are deployed on a monthly or weekly basis in Nigeria, I believe that, irrespective of what role the government plays, the demand for electricity, affordable electricity, is driving the sector. And, we see a sector that is going to, become the next oil industry in Nigeria.
Well, let's get into financing. So as it is, many will say cash is the oxygen of a business. And if you don't get funding for it, you can't really move forward. It's a relatively new area in Nigeria. What are your thoughts on how those who are likely to get invested in this space can find financing for solar energy?
Well, it's not far from a situation where you're looking for a job and then you're always asked, perhaps there's a job advert and there's always this clause that you must have had 20 years or 10 years or 5 years working experience, So, the Nigerian system doesn't support startup entrepreneurship, and even where funding are provided, they're usually guarded, and perhaps politically deployed. You see, for a startup, it's a venture, it's a risk. There must be some kind of funding that you can take that risk with. If you have to take a fund and it's huge interest rate, and if the business goes well or not, you're expected to pay back, and it makes it very difficult for startups, So I see a situation where, for example, I started with a private, family support of 5 million naira way back then, Do you know what it will take to access 5 million naira, funding from perhaps our banks or financial institutions? So
yeah,
I hear you,
but I actually thought you would speak more to foreign financing as well, because I think there is quite a bit of.
Thank you very much for that. The major challenge there is foreign financing is usually dollarized. So imagine taking a finance of $1 million, for example, and I have to pay back, 5 or 10 years later. And at that time, I'm paying back $1 million. I probably took back that $1 million when it was equivalent of 250,000 naira. Without even doing any business, I have to pay back over 570 million naira as it is today. So you know what that means. So unless we can find funding that local, it's very, very risky to take a dollarized foreign finance. We've come across many financing opportunity, foreign finances, but for this foreign exchange, instability and always crushing that, we just stay away from it.
Okay, interesting points there. But staying with the business as it continues to evolve, in your view, what service delivery models are we likely to see for solar energy? I think if you're living in Nigeria, there is no way you can completely depend on the grid. And I just wanted to get your perspective on that.
Definitely, I agree with you. Sadly, the solar solution is a highly capital-intensive venture. It's not like buying a generator. Generator is a low capex but high opex. Solar is the reverse. And you know how it is with Nigeria today. Most people are living from their hand to the mouth. So by the time somebody understands that in the next 5 years, he'll be spending 5 million naira on his power solution running on the gen, and he knows very well that if he goes on solar, he'll probably spend 3.5, but he needs to put that 3.5 down cash. He'll probably prefer to ride on the long run alternative. So for that reason, what we've been trying to canvass or advocate for, and of course we've made some good headway, is 3 different models. One is called power as a service. Power as a service means we ascertain your power need, we agree on a fixed price, and then I take care of providing that power, and then you pay the bills over a period of time. Then we also have the power, purchase model. The power purchase model is such that, we agree on a cost per kilowatt hour, and I generate the power and feed to you, and then you pay me at that time. So the capex is no longer your headache. And the third one is the option we call the lease to own option. That means you need the solution, you pay for it, but you don't have the cash to pay. And then we agree on a payment plan. Perhaps we split it over 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and build up the cost of finance on it and agree on that payment plan. So at the end of the payment period, the solution becomes your property. So with these 3 options, I think it will make it more affordable. More people can access or can, these services, both for the commercial and industrial clients, for the residential clients, as well as, even the rural clients, through mini-grid deployments, like one of the solutions we did for a market in Kaduna, where we deployed the solution, and then we're going to be running the project, over a period.
All right. Useful insight, no doubt, for those who are looking to head this way. And Suleiman, if you can just leave us with some closing thoughts in terms of your business tips to those who are considering investing in this space.
Great. In whatever space you want to invest, passion plays a very key role. It's the only thing that you keep failing and you keep trying because you're happy doing it. And that's definitely going to take you somewhere. But besides passion, I will drop a few other pieces. For example, you must have a place. Either in the back of your house, in your car, there must be a place for whatever startup you want to do. There must be planning. You must have a plan on what you want to do. You must identify the people you want to work with, the people you want to work for. You must identify a product, and that product must have a price, which must be competitive. Then you must have a packaging, and a promotion, ideas. At the same time, you must partner with people. So the partnership is there. You must be able to present your product, and that makes it sellable. You must have a perfect touch, so that's perfection. Percentage has to be there because that's what keeps it going. That's the share of every other party, of what every other party gets, from your business. Very key and very important. And finally, you must have a principle.
Any piece to consider there. Thank you so much for your time today, Suleiman Yusuf, giving us some interesting perspective on how to invest in the renewable energy space in Nigeria, and of course, as an entrepreneur in general. And that's where we leave it on the show for this week. Many thanks for joining us. We look forward to having you on the next program.
This is Build Your Own Business, powered
by Oze. Make money with Oze.